If you take an old Android phone today, connect it to the internet and try loading a simple web page, chances are that it will fail to load. The reason is not that the connection is broken or that the device is too slow, but rather it is the digital handshake these phones try to perform being incompatible. At the center of the problem is TLS, which is short for Transport Layer Security. Every time you visit a modern website, almost all of which require establishing an encrypted connection, your device and the server have to go through a rapid digital handshake. Modern web servers have evolved and almost exclusively speak TLS versions 1.2 or 1.3, leaving the older standards to rot in incompatibility for security reasons. Hence, old Android devices which only support these old technologies are left out in the dark. Well, lucky for us, there is a community of users and developers out there who fight against the obsolescence that all Android devices have fallen in, constantly working on reviving various apps and services to extend their functionality in the modern day. A few days ago, a fresh project was released from one of the prominent developers in the community named Wolfius, targeting Android versions up to 4.4 and as low as 1.5. It is able to host a local proxy directly on the device, which transparently upgrades the TLS 1.0 connections that these old devices support to TLS 1.3, which is the most modern version of the encryption protocol, providing the most secure encryption and most importantly, the best support for the modern web. It utilizes the open source Wolf SSL library extensively to achieve that, which is lightweight and suitable for environments with low resources, just like the better portion of old Android devices. I have downloaded the latest release build of Wolfius from GitHub releases, so let's install it on this unrooted Galaxy S running Android 2.3 Gingerbread. Now that it is installed, you can see that the default connection method set is HTTP proxy, which is what we can use on unrooted Android phones that have the ability to connect to a proxy server. Let's turn on the proxy. You can see that we get instructions on how to connect to it. On this device, we can just go to the advanced Wi-Fi settings and enter the proxy IP as 127.0.0.1, which is localhost, aka the phone itself, as the proxy is locally hosted. We should also put 7998 as the port, which is the listen port Wolfius uses for all connection methods. After this is done, let's open the browser, visit housemyssl.com. And as you can see, the site loads perfectly and reports that our client is running TLS 1.3, the most modern version of the protocol. Visiting more sites, you can notice that we get one or multiple certificate warnings each time we load a page. Because these old devices have not received a system update in many years, their internal list of trusted certificate authorities is frozen in time, meaning that they are not able to trust the certificates modern websites present, even if they should be perfectly valid. Luckily, we can simply continue past them. Installing Wolfius on more old Androids and going through the same process gives the same results. Our only limitation is the old WebKit browsing engine and lack of JavaScript support with old Android. Keep in mind the Wolfius connection methods that do not require root only guarantee TLS 1.3 functionality in browsers. It's likely to fail routing the traffic for other apps. When it comes to Android 1.5 devices like this original Samsung Galaxy from 2009, they do not have the options to set a Wi-Fi proxy. Additionally, as far as I'm aware from discussion with the developer, rooting Android 1.5 will not benefit us here, as there is no net filter support in all non-1.5 ROMs, and VPN options were added in 1.6. They do, however, allow setting it through the second method shown in the info dialog Wolfius gives us, through API and settings using an active SIM card. That means I have to put my SIM card in, go to API and settings and set up one for my provider with information I found online, alongside which I enter the same proxy IP and port for Wolfius under the proxy IP and proxy port fields. Now that this is done, we are connected to the mobile internet. Turning on Wolfius, and as you can see, we are once again on TLS 1.3. Since the proxy is set up in mobile internet settings, it is not accessible from Wi-Fi, so mobile data is the only way. On this HTC Hero running Android 2.1, we are also missing the options to set a Wi-Fi proxy. It is rooted though, so we can use another connection method in Wolfius, namely the PPTP VPN1. When we turn on the proxy, we set up a Wolfius VPN to go through localhost with encryption disabled. Afterwards, we connect to the VPN using any username and password, and we're in. I have noticed an issue with this method though. Currently it often stops working, making any connections hang and eventually abort, in which case I have to turn Wolfius off and back on and connect back to the VPN from settings to fix it. Because the phone is rooted, I was able to update the root certificate store as well, which makes most certificate warnings vanish. Because we are using a VPN method, we also get system-wide TLS 1.3 support. However, I have not found a use for it yet on this phone, as the few default apps that connect online all use data APIs, so they cannot be revived like this. As a side note, you could say Opera Mini already provided support for many modern websites on old Android. While it is currently a viable option if you want to quickly get browsing on your old Android phone, especially for very early Android where it might be harder to connect to Wolfius, Opera Mini routes traffic through Opera's remote proxy servers, which are not something to rely on, as they could be taken down at any time. Plus, it only supports TLS 1.2 rather than Wolfius's TLS 1.3, meaning it will resolve issues with most websites but not all. It does have the benefit of a different user agent though, which allows for sites like Google search to work, which would otherwise block the client. On the other hand, the regular Opera mobile browser with its custom engine slows pages noticeably better and is a great pair with Wolfius. However, since it uses its own TLS 1.0 library with its own store of trusted certificates, even after installing the Wolfius root certificate authority in the system, we still get tons of security warnings. To fix this, we have to follow this link to install the Wolfius root certificate authority in the Opera browser specifically. With system-wide TLS 1.3, in a few days the community has revived multiple apps on their old Androids like the default Samsung AccuWeather widget and old Reddit app versions. Others can simply appreciate that they got more use out of their devices. That is the thing with this project. Because it provides system-wide support for the modern web, with time people will discover more and more apps and services on old Android devices get revived, which have working or mostly working APIs that simply rejected connection because they could not establish secure connection. Additionally, other apps can be revived way more easily as they could now directly connect to modern APIs. All in all, that is about it for what I have observed regarding the Wolfius project. I believe it is a really powerful tool for reviving legacy Android devices, and with both development and community efforts, it will soon end up being an essential tool to make old Android devices feel like new. Shout out to the r/Android After Life community for consistently working on that and providing help to others wanting to get use out of their devices. If you're still watching and have an old Android device laying around, why not try this out as well as some other revivals listed in that community and see what use you can get out of it today? Hope you enjoyed this video and thank you for watching.